Have you ever been out in the great alone when the moon was awful clear and the icy mountains hemmed you in with a silence you most could hear, with only the howl of a timber wolf and you camped there in the cold, a half-dead thing in a stark dead world, clean mad for the muck called gold, while high overhead, green, yellow, and red, the northern lights danced in bars, and you've a hunch what the music meant, hunger and might in the stars. Gold! The elusive search for gold has dredged up more than gold. Look at the poetry of Robert Service. We live in the gold fields in British Columbia. I've just been defrauded of my mining claim once again. I have a placer mining claim here. Corporal Henry Procey was up and he says, "Why can't you just go and stay in a campground somewhere?" Well, because, Henry, there's no gold in campgrounds, and you know that. And you see, here's what I think is going on. I think Henry Procey wants my gold claim. Henry Procey came up here with a mining titles inspector named John Cox a long time ago and marched me all the way up to the waterfall. Now, why am I up at the waterfall? Well, that's really easy for anybody that wants to understand about where to find gold. Get Garnet Basque's book on placer mining, and you will find that this claim here is classic for where you find gold. Now, 100 years ago, if you search into the history of gold fields in this area, you find that this was called the Hardluck Mine. There's been a few miners that have wandered up here, found a little flecks of gold in the creek, just like me, and went looking for the source of where it came from. Well, about 5-10 years ago, they had a washout here. They clear-cut all up atop there, and it washed everything down. So it took tons of overburden off the waterfall up here and washed it all down over the road. They shoved everything off to the side, just a nothing but a big mess in here. But anybody that's read Garnet Basque's book knows that, oh, when you see a road slide, as he says, or a landslide, that's a good place to look, because all the overburden is gone. So I went up to the waterfall, and I found these huge veins of milk white quartz. Now, if you read Garnet's book, you'll find that it says that milk white quartz is the home of gold. So naturally, Judith and I got very excited, and we looked into the history of the place and found out, oh, people have been up here mining 100 years ago. There's mines all through this area. Not 5 miles down the road here are 25 mineral claims. But see, here's the thing. I have a dispute that is supposed to be in the Supreme Court right now, but it hasn't. They haven't sent us anything back to go to court, have they?
No.
You know, so they're still defrauding us of our mining claim. We never have got our day in court, even though they use the authority of the court to attack us in the first place. So, just like I said, just down the road are like 25 mineral claims. We go to renew our claim on this property and we can't. Why? Because they went in and they fudged the computer program. They made the computer program so it took these cells offline and you can't purchase them in the first place. So no disputing it, you just can't get them and license them. So that license rescinded. Right away they're out here with land use thing in order a compliance officer in order to force us off the property. But I want to show you what it's about. The things that men will do for gold. And I want you to see what Officer Procey saw the first time that he came up. Remember when we were over on our South Fork claim, Judith, and dredging over there, and who did we get stopped by?
A cop.
A cop. What was his name? Maurice?
Yeah.
Maurice, what was his last name? It doesn't matter. I can't remember. But what he had was the Old Faithful claim next to us. Now, that's a legacy claim. You see, the guy that had that claim, he had a couple partners. But he was the one that had all the paperwork. So when he died, his partners got nothing because this cop went in there and grabbed the claim. When he found him dead. Yeah, well, no, I think it was, I think he just found the claim afterwards. I don't think it was him that found him in there. But I think one of his buddies told him that they'd found him dead or something like that.
Passed away, yeah.
So
Maurice jumped the claim.
Remember, now I have a claim out there out on Railroad, and it's a really old claim. It's about probably placer gold out of there, about 120 years ago the first time. And He came in and tried to tell me that was his claim, and I said, no, you take a look at your claim. You got a legacy claim. It's got a little hook on the end of it, and I'm in that hook. And that went around. My claim was the original claim out there. At any rate, we know how public servants use the system for their own advantage. So now I want to show you what I showed John Cox, and Pro Se was with me. He knows all about it now. He knows how to do the paperwork. I've showed him my paperwork, explained to him, and everything else. I had to explain to John Cox, who was a mining titles inspector when he came up here, how his own computers work. Is that the truth, Judith?
Mm-hmm.
Because he didn't know, didn't
No.
he? No, I'm not a computer guy. And he went into Vernon and talked to somebody in the office there. And what did he do?
He came back out after spending most of the afternoon here. He went into Vernon and then drove all the way back out and told us that all of our licenses were in order. And as far as he was concerned, we can just go ahead and keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly. So as far as are we doing anything wrong here, ask Pro Se, what's my big crime? Well, I'll show you what he wants. Okay? Clean mad for the muck called gold. Now, here's the thing. See if I can zoom in on this here rock. Can you hold this for me? Just
Yep.
kind of keep it around so that I can talk. Are we seeing it right there? Are we seeing it right there? See this milk white quartz? And can you see this yellow, dull yellow material in here? Okay, and this kind of silvery gray stuff, that's galena. That's raw silver. And there, can you see the sun, the dull glint off of that gold in there? Well, this is what Pro Se wants on this property. This is what his buddies at the mining titles office are helping him get from us. Now, see, he says, why can't you just go stay in a campground? Well, you know, this is the way that I tried to employ myself. You see, I want to admit to my fellow Canadians what my crime is and why the RCMP pursue me. See, when I was president of the Alberta Party, I wrote a book about the illegitimacy of the federal government. Now, I spent a lot of years researching this historically, and I worked with some great men. Elmer Knutson wrote a book, A Confederation or Western Canadian Independence. He started the Western Canada Concept Party. As any Canadian knows, there's been a lot of fighting over the so-called Constitution for many years. And that's because the Constitution is illegitimate. And if you really want to know that, all you have to do is look in the 1982 Hansard Notes of the UK. Whenever Trudeau was over in Britain, supposedly patriating the Canadian Constitution, and MP J. Enoch Powell stood up in the House and he said, and now listen, my fellow Canadians, how comes it that Canadians are so easily led by the nose as to believe by this process that this document can be justiciable as a constitution? He said the reason for it was that they had been deceived, just as their forefathers had been deceived, and he was washing his hands of the entire Tawdry affair, and he goes on to talk for about 15 pages about the fraud of the BNA Act. Now, I've written 2 books. Not only this book, when I was president of the Alberta Party, I have 5 planks. Those planks were legal taxes only, enforced property rights, elected judiciary, a family focus, and direct democracy. I've gotten my RCMP files back under the Freedom of Information Act, where they call this book anti-Semitic and promoting violence. Are you kidding me? If you read the thing, it says, is violence a solution? No, never. Now, look at the RCMP files. I got my files back under the Freedom of Information Act, and the RCMP, for an awful long time, have been trying to go around saying, he's crazy, he's crazy, he's crazy. Now, do the RCMP have a record of doing this? Yes, they do. Here's a brochure that I put out. This is the reason that the RCMP attacked me. It's because I write brochures about the illegitimacy of my government. I want to see all of this change. I want to see my country become affluent. I want to see my people free. And I think that's worth fighting for. I think it's worth starting a revolution over. And I have been fighting a revolution. The British Crown in Canada has been attacking me in an illegal and undeclared war, just the same way that they attacked the people in Afghanistan, because they're drug dealers. That's who they are. The British Crown has been the world's largest drug dealers for centuries. These people started an unlawful corporation and called it Canada. Who is this queen that lives on the other side of the earth and wants to tell us what to do, and hires people like Pro Se to come up at gunpoint and run me off of this claim. I'm here, I'm disabled, I'm trying to employ myself. Look at gold right there. That's evidence of gold. Now, the Mining Titles Office was shown this. Corporal Pose knows what he wants to get from me up here. These people know that if they force me off this property, this mineral is theirs. And you know what? Here's the thing, is yes, I have to work. I have no disability now, because here's the thing. I got all of my files back under the Freedom of Information Act, and I can show you that the RCMP have been going in and telling stories to literally every provincial office that I deal with. And instead of, like, the disability office helping me out, I got crushed by a tractor. I've got $30,000 worth of damage to my teeth. They told me, unless you file your income tax. Now, here's a provincial Ministry of Housing and Social Development, who I have my disability with. They're forcing me to file federal income tax. Read Section 91 and 92 of the Constitution. Everybody says I'm crazy, but I say to everybody else, well, if I'm crazy, why is it written here in the Constitution? Section 91 and Section 92 provide for a separation of powers. Do you want proof of that? Go to the 1950 Lord Nelson Hotel case and look at the decision by Judge C.J. Rinfret, in which he said that it was the intent of the legislation that there was airtight pockets of power between the federal and provincial government. So why do we have a federal police force that don't even answer to anybody but their federal masters, providing police services to the provinces and municipalities and abusing their powers to attack me through these ministries? MHSD forced me to file my income taxes. I had retired CRA professionals do my income taxes, and they said CRA owed me $100,000. What CRA did is they sent a letter to the Ministry of Housing and Social Development, and I have files that state this, don't I, Judith? Yeah. Right? Okay, they said that they were giving me back $27,500. So MHSD cut me off my disability. Then they turned around and reassessed me and said, we don't owe you $28,000, you owe us $28,000. So CRA not only abused their position, and they abused the Constitution by calling a provincial office and saying, hey, we've given them all this money, which in fact they didn't give me at all. And then I got cut off after that whenever I got back a child tax credit, which is totally exempt. Anybody can look at the disability laws and they know the child tax benefits are exempt. But I got cut off for disability for having a child tax benefit. They called me a liar. They said that I was committing fraud. I had to give them all of my paperwork, and I did give them my paperwork, and I got my information back under the Freedom of Information Act that shows that I provided them with the proper paperwork, and in spite of giving them evidence of proving my innocence, they pig-headedly decided that I'm guilty anyways. And they hired this Patrick Clemens, who is not a disability officer. He knows nothing about working with disabled people. And he started attacking me. Patrick Clemens drove us out of Duchess Campground and over onto my mining claim on the first place. You see, they thought I ran out here because I needed a place to stay. I don't. I'm disabled. I have a letter from the under PWD. I can go to any provincial campground and stay there for free. I don't need a camping spot, Henry. And you want my gold, Henry. That's what this is all about. That's gold. That's what I'm chipping away at. And I'm going to tell you something. That gold lies just about 1 kilometer straight uphill from up there. And my biggest problem is I'm disabled. I've got a crushed heart. I can work for about 15 minutes and I need to sit down and have a rest. Even though I've got a tiny little pump like that to dredge with, I can't get it up there. And I'm under attack all the time. All I'm trying to do is employ myself. Henry brought up everybody. He had the disability office attacking me. They got me down. Patrick Clemens gave us $75 a month for rent, and that was supposed to be for our heat and everything else because we were living out here. Now, is this a man that's trying to help me employ myself? And as far as employing ourselves, Judith and I cannot work anyways, because here's the thing, if we do work, CRA simply seizes our checks. So what they're trying to do is just shove us off of this planet. I paid for all of my licenses. That's why I have my paperwork. And now here we've been defrauded again by the British Crown. An entity that exists on the other side of the earth has created this corporation called Canada, which is bankrupt, by the way. Canada is in receivership, and that's why it has a Receiver General. Look at what passed for laws. They're banking laws. Take a look at the Supreme Law of Canada. The shortest act in Canadian jurisprudence is the Bank of International Settlements Immunity Act. It has 2 clauses. Section 1 says they are not subject to any of our laws. That makes them supreme to our entire country. Section 2 says we can't touch any of their property. That means that they can come and steal from us with impunity. And by our laws, there's nothing we can do to address this. Now, who do I appeal to? Henry Posey writes in the paper, puts it in the paper, that I have a warrant out for my arrest for uttering death threats. I was never even charged with uttering death threats, and in fact, I still to this day don't know what I've been charged with, because I keep on asking the Crown Prosecutor for details, even in writing, and they don't get back to me. I go into court and I tell the judge, can you tell me exactly what's going on? Oh, he plays a clowny act. I'm not kidding you. I asked the next judge, I said, am I presumed innocent? Because she knows, she won't swear that this is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Shirley Melford admitted to my wife and my daughter and myself in the Crown Prosecutor's office that she knew it was a lie, and she said, that's what court's all about. You get to present your side of the case. And I said, ma'am, you're supposed to have a legitimate argument in the first place, because if you have legitimate proof of something, then that presumes me innocent. But if you have something you know is a lie, that's not a presumption of innocence. And I asked the judge, am I presumed innocent? He says, well, if you don't know the answer to that, you should have legal representation. He didn't answer the question, and it says in the thing there that I can ask the judge a legal question, so I know how I was getting railroaded. I wanted to call the people that now, here's the thing, in my indictment, in the people that started the indictment against me, it mentions Officer Wendland. And isn't that interesting that 15 years ago, Officer Wendland failed to do his duty and investigate a burglary, and he never gave us any paperwork. And as a consequence of him never giving us any paperwork, we ended up under attack by the CRA. Well, Constable Wendland tried to make up a bunch of lies about us and everything else. So when I wrote my second book, I put a dedication to Constable Wendland. This is written in 2004. Maybe this is motivation for Constable Wendland to make up lies against me. And here's the thing, what did I get charged with uttering threats for? Because I wrote a complaint to the Ombudsman that our that we had been victims of a drive-by shooting, and the RCMP had never given us any information. Henry Posey was up here. We just asked him, what was the conclusion of their investigation? Did he say he concluded it?
He said he concluded. Yes, he did.
And did he tell us what their conclusion was?
No, he didn't.
He didn't say anything to us.
You don't get that.
You don't get that. We can't know. We can't know who's tried to murder us, but we do know that this is covering up an investigation. But the thing is, whenever you have the Attorney General attacking you because you've written books, you've exercised your freedom of speech, this is all it's about, my fellow Canadians. This is my big crime. This is me calling them on their bluff, saying, hey, if I'm free and equal, what is all this nonsense? I came out here in search of gold, okay? And this is hard work. This is work beyond my capability, perhaps. But you know what? I tried. And to my mind, the only reason that I failed is because the people that I've paid taxes to all of my life have attacked me. If Henry Posey hadn't come up here and kept attacking me and everything else, none of this would have happened. Posey tried to say today that he hadn't been up here in 2 years, didn't he? Yeah. And I said, Henry, I know you were up here 2 weeks ago talking to my neighbors, telling them when you found I wasn't at home that you thought I was hiding inside. I said, that'd be the day that I'd hide from a criminal like you. I don't hide out here. I'm not hiding out here from the banks. A man doesn't hide from the banks when he's writing books about how the banks are actually running a con game with a de facto government and courts. I'm articulate. Why can't anybody read my book? Henry says, I don't need to read your book. I got my orders. And I said, that's precisely my point. You work for a foreign power and you're a traitor to your country. At gunpoint, you force us to follow foreign laws that you don't follow. I did all the processes in court. Why is nobody honored any court processes? I have the court docket that shows that I showed up for court and was not scheduled. I have 6 signatures of witnesses that were there that listened to me ask the Crown clerk if I was scheduled. She said no, the Crown was not pursuing charges. And then Henry Prosay turned around and said, I didn't show up for court and there was a warrant out for my arrest. It's a con game that they're playing. The courts are behind it. And who do I appeal to? What is my big crime? Trying to get better? They haven't fixed my teeth. They've attacked me. They haven't helped me do one thing. When I was in Dutch's campground, what was I doing? What was my big crime? I was taking a course in forensic investigation because I got interested in it watching this crime scene investigation. Hadn't watched TV in years. Well, that was the only thing that even appealed to me. I thought, I'm going to get into this. Now, would Patrick Clemens pay for the course? No, they declined to do that. Patrick Clemens says that they were afraid for the welfare of my son. And yet, whenever Dutch's campground raised the rent and said, oh, we're going on to on-season rates, which they hadn't told us about, 2 months before the end of the school year, and my son is not only on the honors list, but on the principal's list to get scholarships, and he's grade 11, this guy says, no, we're not going to give you any more rent, even though their own legislation says he can do that in an emergency, and we can simply we can simply pay him back out of our checks. No. Patrick Clemens has engineered this entire thing. But who do I show my evidence to? When we showed up for court with all of our evidence, were we scheduled for court, Judith?
No, we weren't.
See? We know we're playing into a stacked deck in a rig game.
Empty.
And our file was empty. They took absolutely nothing until after all of that happened, and now they're starting to take stuff back into the file. Well, here's the thing. When they arrested me, they told me I had to come out and stay out at this property. Everybody's wondering why I'm out here and all this sort of stuff. Well, because that's what the JP said. And you can call Corporal Bryson Hill at the Nakusp RCMP. He said, you got to go out there. You got to tell him if you move anywhere else or anything else like this. So now Henry Prosay has once again, in order to get this yellow stuff right here, this gold, okay, he's brought this other guy up here in Why is it always Henry Prosay with everybody out of the provincial departments? If there's supposed to be a separation of powers. What crime have I committed, Henry Prosay? I told you, if I uttered threats, if I put it in writing on February 2nd, 2009, show me the letter, show me where I put that in writing. And he can't. Because Corporal Henry Prosay is a liar. He's a liar. He's a liar just like these other RCMP here. See this here? This is out of the paper. It says, all 4 officers involved in the Robert Giganski affair face charges. Rest assured, we were shocked to the core that trusted officers could do such a thing, and we want to be clear, such behavior is unacceptable. As God is my witness. Oh, yeah, a fairy tale clown that don't exist. Those 4 officers will never lie to us again. Why? Did you finally fire their ass? Here we got my brochure. Kill the RCMP info is not a death threat. And Henry Prosay knows that. So when he puts a lie in the paper and defames my character, he does it with absolute malice. He says, Jim, you shouldn't swear. That's not nice. Oh, well, Henry, destroying people's lives and making lies up about them's nice? Who cares if you don't swear? It's despicable, man. Exactly. And look at what is this. RCMP protective pedophile judge. Now 2 of their officers are under investigation. Outside link to full Judge Ramsey case. We know who runs our courts. We know who the British Crown is. We know what the Inns of Temple Court is. We know that Canada is a private corporation and it's bankrupt. And I wrote books about that. Well, that's nonviolent. Why do the RCMP in their files try to paint me as violent and and delusional and all this other sort of stuff? You know, none of this makes any sense. And why don't people address what I write in my books? It's easy to verify this historical information that I give to everybody, and all of us know that this country for 150 years have been arguing about a constitution and all that other sort of stuff, and the illegitimacy of the de facto government. And that's my argument. You know, we need a revolution in this country, but it's a revolution of the mind. Screw the RCMP and their stupid bullets. I mean, violence is for idiots. That's what I wrote in my book. Is violence the solution? No, never, absolutely not. That's what the RCMP do. Take a look at their history. There's a history written about them. Here we are, an unauthorized history of the RCMP. They're strike breakers. They run the company store for the people that are pretending to provide us with government and courts that they're using to attack us financially. They got us coming and going. We are being played we're being played for suckers. And here's how easy it is to play us for suckers. All the British Crown does is hire retards. Retards like Henry Posey that can't read. He admitted to me he doesn't read. I don't want to read your shit. Well, you know what? He doesn't even read his own shit. Because if he read the criminal code, section 15, he'd see that they don't even have the authority to convict anybody in this country. You see, that's the thing, is they hire people that aren't quite there, that can't grasp the entire situation, that can't even read the laws that they try to impress upon you. All they have is the right of might. It's force. What are they doing in Canada? What is the British Crown doing in Canada? Well, this land is our birthright. And am I here to work for it? Well, you know what? How did that big stack of wood get there? Eh? Judith, can I cut wood by myself? How do we cut wood?
Together.
Together, yeah. Because I can't bend over to put the thing onto the block, and she can't swing an axe. And I can barely swing an axe. I got to swing the axe into it, and then I get a block of wood, and I hit it about 10 times. It takes me 10 times the effort to cut wood as it does an able-bodied man or anything else. And you know what? I told them to screw their disability check because they wanted me to wear an ankle bracelet to have it on. They wanted me to account for every penny while they attacked me and took every penny that they could and made up malicious lies about me and constantly cut me off. I can prove all of this. I have the paperwork. Who would I show it to? Where's the legitimate force? Who can I get to investigate the bullet holes in my motorhome? I look back out through that piece of table leg that I cut off there with the bullet hole through it, and all I see is the people that tried to murder me. I go into court, and all I see is an attempt to cover up the attempt to murder us. It's aiding and abetting. And that's how our courts work. You can call me what you want, but you know what? We know that the RCMP lay in wait for Robert Giganski and murdered him with tasers. We know that the RCMP killed Ian Bush in a prison cell and lied about it. These people are murderers. And when I say kill the RCMP, I don't mean the way that these foreign mercenaries treat my fellow countrymen by taking their children and murdering them in a jail cell. I mean to get rid of their misbegotten organization that operates unconstitutionally and has been attacking our fellow countrymen since the inception of this horrendous crime against us. Get a legal dictionary and look up the definition of confederation. It's a conspiracy to commit a crime. Look up the definition of a confederate. It's a criminal. That's what we have. We do not have a lawful de jure government in this country, and that's why a person like myself cannot exercise his freedom of speech, and he can't even exercise his own muscles to look after himself. Now, I paid through the nose. I've had successful businesses. I didn't just live on minimum wage all my life in this country. I grew up on the street and got a university education. Okay, I've made an effort. And the RCMP say, my record shows. You know what? I don't have a criminal record. But they don't talk about any of my certificates in housing or any of my patents or any of my copyrights, any of the books that I've written except for to slander them. I am a reasonable person. To reason is to sit down to put it in writing. And I have it in writing from MHSD files where the RCMP are telling them not to answer me back whenever I call for information. I have CRA files that show that CRA people on the phone, I'm calling them for information because I want to pay my taxes. And I want my day in court with these people. And I have it in their own record. The guy says, oh, I heard a hollow noise thinking I might be recorded. I was careful not to divulge any policies or information. That's what I was calling for, was policies and information, and that's what that man is paid to do, give me policies and information, and they were careful not to provide me with any why. Conspiracy against my country? Well, you know what? I know it is, because I have written income tax software, and I know how inconsistent and illegitimate it is. Deloitte & Touche hired me to write income tax software and abandoned me in the offices, and I said, hey, whoa, hold on, fellas, I'm just a translator. I'll take your information here, you show me how to compute it. Well, Deloitte & Touche couldn't show me how to compute that. So they left me in the office with 2 accountants from Roland Riggs in order to figure it out, and it took us months. And even then, I had to fudge it in order to accommodate their illegitimate garbage. Now, I once wanted to take Rob McMeekin to court because I never got my day in court, and I went to see Crown Prosecutor Vern Brewer so I could lay charges. He said, we're not going to lay charges against Crown employees. Hey?
CRA agent.
He says, we're not going to lay charges against Crown employees. You see, we have a 2-level tier of laws in this country. The Crown agents, they make up lies, and they violate their own oath of office, by the way, in doing this. They make up lies, and you know, you have to defend yourself against the lies, and they don't even listen to you. We gave them the information about this mining claim. When they came up here, they said, oh, you can't use this for a residence. Well, you know what? This is a mining camp. And when they sell you the permit for the placer claim, they tell you you can use 1 acre. I use about 1/4 of an acre here to put my stuff on. And I said, that's the only thing you can use a camp for, is a residence. These people come into my residence, they don't have any warrants or anything else. I have all their lawful paperwork and everything else, and they still attack me? And it's all illegitimate as hell. But Judith, who do we appeal to when it's the courts that are after us for writing this stuff?
I don't know.
Nobody. Nobody.
There is
There is nobody to appeal to. So, my fellow countrymen, any of you that have followed me through this far, what I need is, we want to seek out political asylum. And we have the proof of how we're illegitimately attacked. We can show them that I've never put anything in writing about uttering threats or any other goddamn thing like that. And I want to get out of this country. I'm tired of being under attack. I am a non-violent person. I do not have a criminal record. Now, we're told we have to be gone from this property in 2 weeks. You see, here's actually the thing is, I'm working actually for Carsan Enterprises out of Calgary. They're trying to get the all of the stuff together in order to get drills so that we can drill down into this quartz and get after that gold. Now, I did have the mineral rights here, but the thing is they got into the computer and they took these cells offline. Like I said, 5 miles down the road, there's over 25 mineral claims, but those are major corporations that hold those. So they got into their computer rather than going about even the illegitimate thing of saying that we have this property for non-mining purposes. They took pictures of my my dredge and my sluice and said, this is and my rock samples. You know, you show them the gold and you say, look, it's right there, gold and silver. You know, this is what they're after. And they're like, oh, well, you wrote a book, you know, this is about something else. Well, you know what? How come the mining title officer knows all? They came up here, they didn't even identify themselves. They came up here, oh, it's a nice place to hide out from the banks. Hey, retards, people that are hiding out from banks don't write books about them. I'm not hiding out from your foreign banks. My problem that I have here is I'm exposing your foreign banks, and these foreign banks that rule the corporations are using you employees in order to attack me. That is how my country is divided and conquered. We have people that, here's the thing, I pay your wages, and you attack me for a foreign banker that rips all of us off. This country is trillions of dollars in debt. True or false? Everybody's in debt. True or false? Our economy is dead. True or false? The banks are shaking down our countries for trillions of dollars. True or false? So what in any of this is crazy? It's obvious that the RCMP are after me because they have a reputation as criminals. They attacked Weibo Ludwig. Why? They blew up a gas compressor station and went down and arrested this guy for a crime they knew they committed. That's just like Henry Proce putting up his local informant here to fire through my motorhome and then not doing an investigation. We haven't had any information about this back. Okay, well, I don't want to ramble because people that know us and everything else know that we're nonviolent, know that we're just trying to work out our own stuff. I have no money, absolutely none. We don't have our disability. We said, you know what, you're not helping us. I'm in constant pain all the time. Do you know what the number one cause of suicide is? Tooth pain. I have $35,000 worth of tooth pain. That's on top of broken rib pain, punctured lung pain, crushed heart pain, smashed shoulder pain, broken wrist pain, crushed hand pain, screwed up foot pain, you name it. But you know what? I still keep bucking along and everything else. And you know what? If I've committed crimes, how come these people can't put it in writing and give me the evidence of this crime that I'm supposed to have committed here? And like I said, who do I appeal to? My fellow countrymen, listen. You might disagree with me, but I'm going to tell you something. I've laid it all on the line. These people want me in a jail cell, or they want me in a mental institution. You can tell. Hey, what did the Attorney General offer us for victims' assistance after this happened?
They offered you psychiatric assessment sessions.
Were you and my son in the motorhome when they attempted to murder us?
Yes.
Did you get offered any victims' assistance?
No.
Oh, isn't that so heartfelt and sympathetic from my fellow countrymen? You people do not care that they tried to murder my child and that my child was missed by 1.5 feet. I should be happy that they didn't have him in a jail cell like Ian Bush cranking around in his head. And I am grateful for that. But these people have attacked my children. Get onto my website at http://townsend.be and look at the government's own records that show they seized our damage deposit. They knew we had no money. They violated their own Income Tax Act, and they seized my damage deposit purposely to make us homeless. And when I got a loan from a friend of mine so my family was not homeless, what did they do, Judith? How did they find us?
Oh, they were stalking the schools, the kids in the schools, they were calling them.
Yes, that's exactly what they did. They called the principal to see where the children transferred to. They went over and talked to the other principal, got our address, and there they were on our doorstep trying to seize our damage deposit again, to put us back out on the street, to knock us down. Hey, I don't owe CRA anything. And if there's a legitimate authority out there, I can show you where MHSD claims that they got information from CRA that CRA gave me back $27,500. And I can show you the letter from CRA that said they disallowed that amount, and then they ended up turning around and saying, you owe us this. They went back 12 years to 1996. The year that I gave the 3-inch thick report about child pornography on the internet to the RCMP. And you know what? It was my own fault that I got attacked by the RCMP, because I did not realize the nature of the beast. I did not know that we had an illegitimate government in this country, and I did not know that it was the RCMP putting that pornography on there. Anybody can get on GentileDefenseLeague.org, my blog, and I lay out exactly how anybody can trace route information and where it's gone to. And now, how are these child porn sites hiding? They're going over they're hiding behind legal websites. Here's the thing, you see, whenever you have a website, you have to register it. You have to give everybody your information about where you reside and all that other sort of stuff. Well, now when you go on there, you'll find that it's actually registered to a legal firm. And if you want that information, you have to go through that legal firm in a foreign country to try and get the information about who's putting that stuff on the web in your country. And you see, at the same time, the RCMP, who are running it all, are pretending that they're champions of it. Let's do a little bit of math for anybody that's got 2 brain cells. No, 3. It's going to take a bit. BC has a $25 billion a year marijuana industry. Now, this is information from the Fraser Institute. And what book is that in? That's about a book about how to, it's a health magazine about how to get into growing your own pot for health purposes. Remember that book?
Yeah, I remember it. I don't recall the...
At any rate, they say that back then they said it was a $25 billion a year industry, and it's growing. Now, here's the thing. I'm told that on a really good plant, a really good bud, you can get a quarter pound. That's if everything works out really good. That means it takes 4 plants for a pound. Okay, now think about the number 25 billion and how much a pound of pot goes for. What? Say $2,000. Divide 2,000 into 25 billion. What do you get? 12.5 million pounds. 12.5 million pounds. That multiply that by 4 to see how many plants you need. That's 100 million plants. Contrast this to the RCMP's huge grow operation busts. We got 1,300 plants worth so much. 100 million plants. Do you know how many busts you got to make to do that? Here's the thing, is that when the proceeds of crime devolve to the Crown, all the Crown has to do is make everything a crime. You go into a Crown court and you look up on the judge. It says, "Doué mon droit." Eh, en histoire qui mal y pense, il will be to him who thinks it, eh? Doué mon droit. God and my right. What's written on the cop car? Maintien le droit. Maintain the right. Who's right? Well, you see, this country is our birthright. But under color and guise of law, a foreign criminal seizes it under claim of right. Look up claim of right and color of law in the legal dictionary and you see that they're criminal processes. This is a criminal abuse of judicial machinery. And it lays out exactly what culvertage is, what champerty is, and what barratry is. And I'm being explicit to you, my fellow countrymen. This is how your country is under attack. You get taken to the mat time and time again. And you need to look at history, because World War III is going to be fought in North America. Go onto YouTube and take a look at Jewish militias forming in North America. And listen to what these former IDF officers are saying. They're saying that we have global enemies. And they're afraid that their families are going to get attacked in North America after they went and served in Israel to steal Palestine from the Arabian people. Now they're going to hide out in our country. And at the same time that the British Crown is trying to prohibit Canadians from owning arms, these militias are popping up all over the place. Don't believe me? Go onto YouTube and watch their own videos that they put on there. Okay? At the same time, type in Reverend Ted Pike and the Talmud and see what's going on there. You see, all of these wars, they're religious wars. And it's not the responsibilities of the Jews. It's not the responsibility of Christians. It's not the responsibility of Muslims. It's the responsibility of the banks that fund all these groups and fund this method of force and religion and legislation in order to enslave the human race. Ask Posey why he was up here in the first place, attacking us. And the man lies as easy as looking at you. He's trying to tell us today it's been 2 years since he's been up here. He was up here 2 weeks ago. And he went over to the neighbors and he says, "Oh, I think Townsend's hiding in his motorhome." He knew damn well we weren't here because he drove by us at Lyle Kennedy's, didn't he?
He saw us.
He saw us. We were looking at him. Oh, it's Posey. Well, I guess that's the end of this rant. I just wanted to tell you, my friends, we've been defrauded again. And you can see, there's the gold and silver that they're getting from us. That's why they want it. They say that they got a legitimate claim. Well, where's my day in court to the Supreme Court? We've got our thing there. We asked them to set a date. We did everything they told us to. They haven't gotten back to us. Every time we send them information, whenever I went to court for this thing, they wouldn't take any of my witnesses. The judge wouldn't allow any witnesses that were even in the indictment. He says, "I'm only accepting sworn testimony." But here's the thing, is the indictment isn't sworn. It's illegitimate. And who do I show that to when I say to the judge, look at The indictment isn't even sworn. I say to the Crown Prosecutor, do you swear this is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? And she says no. But you see, that's a violation of her oath of office and a violation of the Canada Evidence Act. But who do I appeal to when it is the judiciary that is attacking this country and attacking me? And see, we just have to get out of this country. I don't want to spend time in an insane asylum just because I wrote a book that nobody even reads. You know, like anybody could read my book and go in there and say, you know what, geez, Mr. Townsend's right. You know, here, what do they have for evidence, Judith? They say on or about February 2nd, 2009, I uttered threats by writing a letter to Pat Clemens. Well, what they omit to say is that was a copy of a letter to Pat Clemens, and it was an official complaint to the Ombudsman. That's right, my fellow countrymen. For using the office that the government provides for you to complain, and me using that, they charged me. Because Wendland had his panties in a knot. When Goodyear arrested me, what did he say?
He came up and he said, I'm arresting you because my NCO has his panties in a knot.
Ha 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 ha. I said, did you read my letter? He says, yeah, I thought it was funny. He knew that I didn't make any threats in there. What did I say? I was trying to tell this guy how badly injured I was. And you even look in there, are they trying to downplay my injuries? You know why they're trying to downplay my injuries? Because I keep on asking them, what happened to my arbitration order whenever my wife and I were unlawfully forced out of Apple Grove? You see, I can tell you one thing these clowns don't want. They don't want me sitting in front of a jury of my fellow countrymen, deliberating whether or not I comported myself as a gentleman. They say, oh, you swear. Well, no kidding. It's been 15 years of constant attack. You've totally ruined my life. We know how I act. Yeah, I do have a record of building things. That Pentagon Pyramid that I have, the Canadian Igloo that I have a patent to, because that's what's in my mind. That's what I build. There's my greenhouse. That's what's in my mind. There's my addition. Why do I have an addition? You can see there's a wood stove in it and there's a bath in there. I told John Cox, I says, you got this Mine Act here, and I says, in the first place, that doesn't apply to me, and you know it. When Don Cox came up, did he say that nothing I was doing was allowed or disallowed by the Act, but he had been told to charge me?
Yes.
Right? That's all it is. Pro Se says, my higher-ups want you gone. Who are his higher-ups? It's the people that are running this illegitimate con in our country. Look at what was printed in the Vernon Morning Star paper for yourself. It says that the federal RCMP do not answer to anybody but the federal government. The RCMP come up here when I've done nothing, I've committed any crimes, and they question me like I'm a Jew in a fucking concentration camp. Excuse my language, but it's true. Little Nazi Pro Se, he thinks I'm just Jimmy the Jew. Oh, here, we're going to tie you up with barbed wire, man. We're going to gas you next and all that other sort of stuff. And look at that. I even got a gasifier. You want to see what I've been doing here, Judith? Let's just go show them what we've been doing out here. Okay, well, here's my greenhouse, and you can take a look in here. We can see that we don't have any contraband. No pot growing. Look at that. That's tomatoes. There's cabbage. There's leeks. There's peppers. You know, oh, gee, big, huge crime. Crime scene. Oh, man, got to shut that down. Oh, boy. Well, look at this big pile of wood. Eh? Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Geez, and what do we got over here, Judith? Hey, what time does it tell us it is? Look at that. It's 1 o'clock. See that rock? Yeah, that rock shows us that it's 1 o'clock. Here, what is this for? This here? May the 1st, I took the position of the sun so that I can track the sun here. And then what I did is I also took the position of the North Star. And we can see that it's at 15 degrees right ascension from north as defined by the sun on May 1st at 12 noon, on May Day, right? So this is the we've just gone past the equinox, or rather the summer solstice, the longest day of the year. Well, this position was taken at the spring equinox. Okay. And so what we can do with this is we can tell what time it is, not only in the daytime because of the pointers at the rocks there, but also at nighttime because of the positions of the stars. So, you know, like I said, have you ever been out in the great alone when the moon was awful clear and the icy mountains hemmed you in with only a silence you could hear? Well, the stars. If you've ever been out in the great alone when it's crisp and cold, I mean, this is the high alpine. It's nice. It's a nice day today. It's the first sunshine that we've had just about, this is the first day of summer for us almost. It's been just cold and miserable up here. We've had to even have a fire going at night up in the high alpine. And here's the thing. There's nobody else here. The only other thing living here is Charlie Arcus. He's a grizzly bear. Great big monster of a guy. Great big blonde guy with with brown legs. You know, he comes by and he's cool with us living on his property. He comes by, he looks at us. You know, the dogs are sleeping, they're not chasing him or whatever. He comes and checks us out and wanders on his way. He's got no aversion to us being here. When we're not here, there's nobody here. And you see, we know how our fellow Canadians think of us. Our worth, we are worth less than nobody. People who we pay taxes to support their jobs, while they attack me, I don't even get the benefit of any of the programs that I paid into all my life. My wife always worked. She paid into all of these social programs. She's disabled. We get not one penny for everything that we paid this crown. And all we ask is a piece of our birthright. This is our birthright. If we're free and equal, why can't we have a piece to be on? All I want to do is crack a little bit of gold out of the ground. I don't have any money. Geniuses, how am I living? Think about it. That's all I have is that little bit of gold that I get out of the ground, because I can't afford to have some big mining operation started up and get it all and everything else. No, you got to wait for Henry Posey to come in here a couple years later and just take it with his buddies. Well, that's BS, man. I found this and I can show everybody the gold I did right up front. Nobody, oh, you know what? Oh, no, it's because you wrote a book. You got to be hiding out here. Hiding out from who? No, like I said, nobody that's hiding out writes a book about it, do they? They go off and do whatever. But the thing is when I came out here to work. I did not have electricity. I did not have the internet. I was disgusted with Canada. My wife is disgusted with Canada. We came out here to eat them wild plants right there, to drink that water out of the creek, and try and get a little bit of gold out of here to support ourselves, to eke out a subsistence. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people have gone into the BC gold fields looking for gold. And do you know how many actually found it? A very few percentage. Yet me, oh, the disabled guy, oh, he's got to carry out buckets of gold or he's illegitimate. I haven't even been able to get our equipment up to where we're supposed to go, have I? No. Our plan was we were going to get some llamas and pack them up there. We've been under attack. We've had our water lines cut. We've had our stuff broken. We've had everything stolen. How hard do you have to make ends meet? And here's the thing. Every time we make ends meet and we live more austere, the government claws back more from us. They say, oh, you don't need that. Because we take what few little bucks we have and we build stuff. It took me a year to build that addition that's over there. A couple 2x4s at a time sometimes, and 2x4s are only $2 each. And we took money out of our mouths to try and make something of our lives while we're attacked at the same time, and we paid the licenses at the same time. Now, here's a wood gasifier. You can see what I'm working on. This is a wood gasifier. What happens is through a pyrolytic process, what you do is this has got a burning chamber in it. So I get in here and I fill this burning chamber up with wood, and I take this off the bottom here and I light it in there. And I actually put a blower on that end of that filter. That's a filter system. And I blow it back Oh, there's the blower right there. You can see how I made the blower. Okay? Big ticket items. Look, there's a fan that I got out of the dump. Pulled it off machine out of the dump. There's a fitting that I got out of the dump. There's an old Toyota fan motor. We can see how I pieced it together with a couple of screws, and I put it on my battery for my screw gun in order to blow air back into here. And this works as a rocket stove whenever it starts up. So I get that burning chamber burning good and hot. Then I fill the hopper up with wood, and then put the top on it, and then I can put that end onto the intake on my generator, and I can run my generator on wood gas. So it costs me $0 at the gas pump to run that. What I'm experimenting with right now is making a little wood gas transportation here. This is to work around here. Okay, this is a lawn tractor that I got from the dump. It had been thrown out. It didn't have a working motor or anything else, so this is garbage that I dragged home. That's another piece of garbage actually that a buddy of mine got from the dump. That motor's off that old Zamboni there. So I put this motor on here, and what I've been doing is experimenting with the wood gasifier to run this on wood gas. So this motor runs nicely on wood gas. So what I'm doing here, you can see that I've removed the lawnmower from underneath, and I spun the apparatus around, and then I'm going to take that green barrel over there, and I'm going to put it on the top of here, and I'll be able to run this off of wood gas as well. You see, my wife and I, we have a very hard time going out and collecting wood and stuff like this, so this is our wheelbarrow. You know, and here's the thing is, these are the great crimes that we're committing out here. And who do we appeal to? We know that we can't appeal to anybody. And anybody that wants to read the phony court documents, they can see that none of the court documents are notarized. Okay? This is totally unlawful, this attack. Now, I've been to court already over this, so I'm in double jeopardy. I can show anybody that's interested that I was at court. Corporal Henry Posey knowingly put a lie in the paper when he said I did not show up for court. Because like I said, I got the court document right out of the courthouse, and I had my witnesses that were there to watch what was happening in court sign the thing. Okay, now I'm sick of this. These people just run right over you. Well, okay, so I put the truth in writing. Anybody can read my book and they can see what the truth is. But you know what? This country will remain under attack forever until we, the people of this country, get together and form lawful de jure governments. The idea of a corporation with a history of being mercenaries and strike breakers are providing police services to our provincial departments and our municipalities with absolute authority and no responsibility and nobody to answer to, that's bullshit. These people are not peace officers. They're a foreign corporate police force. Why are we in Afghanistan embroiled in an opium war and our children are dying of drugs on the street? $25 billion a year marijuana industry that we all know takes 100 million plants to fire. And the RCMP, 100 million, oh, and they drum it up in the paper, oh, look at all these plants. Well, at the same time, they're out, hey, all of this drug traffic can't be happening unless they're controlling it. That's the thing, you know. Ask yourself, in business, do you have to be extraordinarily astute to be successful? Well, how many successful businessmen are out there? Ask any of you men that have lost your businesses while you've been getting out of the bed first thing in the morning and working till late at night. I know, I did it for years. Couldn't make ends meet. The harder I worked, the more it cost me. Have you ever been there? Well, here's the thing. You need to be extraordinarily astute in business to be successful. And a $25 billion a year marijuana industry that's twice as big as all of Canada's agricultural exports to the United States and our softwood industry included, that's an awfully successful industry. And that means an inordinate amount of control. And unfortunately, what that also means is an awful lot of corrupt politicians, judges, and police. And that's why we see all the time in our newspapers all of this stuff about corruption. What has the Attorney General's office and the Premier's office done? Now they're going to create another complaints division for the RCMP, because they've already created another complaints division for the RCMP, and that didn't work out. But this is going to be a special complaints division. This is only going to be for serious crimes and murder committed by the RCMP. So let me ask you, are you going to investigate the attempt to murder us? Well, I don't think the Attorney General, who's involved with the RCMP in trying to defraud our mining claim from us, is going to investigate the attempt to murder us that they were in on. Do you? And you see, that's the reason that we need political asylum. You know, I can prove absolutely everything with my records. And I want to make an appeal to the world at large. You know, if you believe that reasonable men should sit down and put things in writing, to take years out of their lives to volunteer for political processes in the first place, and to write books because they are concerned about the welfare of their fellow countrymen, if you think people like that is what you want to support, then I would ask you to please support us. I don't have a criminal record. I'm not violent. Neither is my wife. She's not even 5 feet tall or 100 pounds, and yet in her RCMP file they got that you were arrested for assaulting a police officer.
An unspecified assault.
Oh, an unspecified assault. Just garbage that they make up in order to try and vilify you. But at any rate, there's my rant for today. We got to clean up, and here's the thing: is they're going to charge us if we leave anything behind here. Judith, have we been cleaning up a mess left by the
landslide and forestry?
Well, the forestry.
Yeah.
They logged this out. This
Yeah.
is an old logging landing. There is
Yeah.
garbage wood all over, and we have not done nothing but cut it and stack it and burn it since we've been here. You know, like how much did, you know, we're going to have to do what? Clean up everything that that these people that have abused the forest for how long? You know, look at the guy that started all of this for us out here, the local rancher. Okay? He complained because we were on his range. Well, his range is 20 miles down the road that way. And what's he been doing for years? He's been paying for a rinky-dink little range down there next to nothing and letting his cows out the back door. His cows go down into the creek down here, and they shit in the creek to the point that you can go to the Cherry Ridge Committee and you can get their water analysis, and it'll show you that the water stewards, that's right, they'll show you that this drinking water here, or this fresh water in the creek that starts up in the alpines up here, mind you, has 25 times the allowable level of coliforms, E. coli bacteria. Now, you and I can't shit in the water, but this guy can let his cow shit in there. And see, if I'm up here, he can't just let his cows out, because I put the run on them if they're in front of my claim here. I say, you know what, you can keep the things on going down the road. I wanted to fence this off. I didn't want to hassle with anybody or anything else, but no. He's got to go in and make all sorts of complaints and everything and get the cops out here. I'm told by a number of locals that it was his son that tried to murder us, and he was being an informant for the RCMP at the same time. So that's where we're kind of sitting on with this whole thing. Like I said, we are worth less than nothing in this country. We always contributed all of our taxes. How did they defraud us the last time? Okay? They disallowed all of the credits, and they went back 12 years and reassessed us for a time that we were actually living on subsidized housing, and I was barely even getting by. We were getting assistance from social services. Now, anybody that has been on social assistance knows that they audit you. Did we go through a 5-hour audit with CRA, with social services? Yeah. And that was in 1996, and in the same year, they claim that we owe them $40,000 in income tax.
Same year we got broken into and lost our home-based business.
Lost our home-based business.
All the equipment stolen.
That's right, because I gave the RCMP a 3-inch thick report about child pornography on the internet, and not 2 months later, my business is broken into, and all of my computers are stolen. Okay? All of my computers are stolen. And Wendland refuses to investigate. Judith gets in a bad car accident less than 2 months later that the RCMP failed to investigate again. And the same RCMP that Wendland worked at lost all 3 witness reports. We got nothing from ICBC. It cost us $40,000 out of our pockets for my wife's rehabilitation. And she's still screwed up from that accident. When is enough enough? I mean, I did come out in the middle of nowhere here just to play in the mud puddle. Everybody could have left me alone. The only reason I started writing letters again is because Corporal Henry Procey came out here and said, oh, my higher-ups want you gone. Well, we know who his higher-ups are, and we know why they want us gone. I wrote a book, and I put Wendland's name in there. Now, are you people incapable of making that connection there? I've complained about this man about dereliction of duty before, and I've showed you people RCMP files that I got back under the Freedom of Information Act that show how the RCMP screw up all of their records in an effort to vilify us. It took over a year to get them files back, incidentally, and lawfully they have how long?
30 days.
30 days, yet it took us over a year while they doctored all of the documents. When I went to get the files back from the Ministry of Housing and Social Development, how long did they have, Judith?
30 days.
How long did they take?
Oh. More than.
Remember, they wrote back, first of all, and they said they're going to give themselves an extra 30 days, and we got it about 90 days later.
90 days, 3
and
months.
And were the records doctored?
Yes, they were.
Yeah, we
the
got you.
The comments don't even go in order by the years. They're on the same page. They've got different comments from this year and another year.
You know, why can't we sue the Ministry of Housing and Social Development that had the responsibility to provide me with a proper level of assistance? Now, they know that my teeth were not fixed in the hospital because I was so screwed up that they couldn't put me on life support because I had holes punctured into my lungs. So they couldn't fix my teeth. So they were supposed to fix my teeth when I went back because they couldn't even bolt my arm back on. My arm was totally broken off. The shoulder blade was broken off and the collarbone, and it was just hanging there, and all the ribs were broken on this side. The arm was broken and the hand was crushed. They said you'd never use it again when I went back in, and they weren't going to bolt it back on, and I said just bolt it back on and let's see. This is a hand they said I'd never use again. Okay? They didn't fix my teeth. They said, oh, you're caught in a catch-22 situation. And the Ministry of Housing and Social Development, they know they're supposed to fix my teeth. Everybody knows that tooth pain is excruciating. Look at these things. They're all broke. I had a tractor sitting on my head. I literally picked rocks out of my head for a couple months afterwards. It put a dent in the fender that big with that thing sitting on my head. It pushed the skin right through my teeth. I bit down so hard on my teeth that I broke them all. And I got big holes. My tongue is always getting cut. The inside of my teeth is always getting cut. I'm always in pain. And my wife, she's a herbalist. She's my medicine lady. She makes me an oil thing to brush my teeth with out of clove oil and myrrh and wintergreen, and that kills the pain in there and keeps the infection out. But it's still a hassle. I can only chew with this part of my teeth up front there, and that's me paying through the nose all these income taxes and everything else, and through the nose all of the taxes every time I spend a dime. I'm not getting off paying taxes like anybody else. It's all nonsense that everybody's making up. You know, why is it that CRA sends a letter to MHSD and says that I'm getting $27,000 back, then MHSD cuts us off our disability, and then CRA turns around and say, oh no, you owe us the money. Well, you know that that's a purposeful attack, and somebody's engineered that attack. Because you know what? Stuff like that can't happen again and again and again by accident. And this is the thing, any Canadian that stands up for their rights gets taken down the same way. And here's the thing, any time that you have a system that robs Peter to pay Paul, you will always have the support of Paul. So the Paul Proceys, the Paul Goodyears, the Paul Clemens, the Dan Wendlands, and the Reg Burgess, what reason do they have to attack me? Their paycheck. It's easy for them. They ride around in air-conditioned vehicles with guns and act like absolute assholes. You know it, and I know it. They pull you over and they fine you for rust on your car, and that Highway 6 here is just a garbage road. It's nothing but bumps all over the place. It pounds the hell out of your vehicle as you go along it, and what do you see? All along the whole length of it, crosses where people have died on the highway, and they have the audacity to pull you over and charge you for everything. Here's the thing, is the courts are running an industry. Whenever the proceeds of crime devolve to the Crown, everything becomes a crime. You go into court, they make you swear to tell the truth on the Bible, but the first page of that Bible says that their fairy tale God gave man all the plants. So if their fairy tale God gave man all the plants, why are they charging us for having a plant? And what a con game. A simple little plant, a recreational pot plant that probably half of this country has tried, and an awful lot of people use. They say, oh, that plant's illegal, and in your mind they turn you into a criminal, and now they can take everything that you own. These little criminals that have set up these phony governments that are into receivership. Mr. Receiver General, yes, we know, we can read the Bank of International Settlements Immunity Act. And if little Jimmy's so crazy, why is there a Bank of International Settlements Immunity Act? And do you know what? Debt patronage is a form of slavery, and it's outlawed by the UN Charter of Rights, Charter of Human Rights, the United Nations, the people that are behind the Bank of International Settlements and everything else. We know it's a con game. The Nobel Peace Prize, a peace prize given out by a man that made a fortune murdering human beings. Hey, you know, like we live in this hypocritical world. And what are Judith and I? We're an inconvenience because we have the guts to stand up and tell the truth. That's the only thing that differentiates us from our fellow Canadians, is the guts to stand up for the truth, the guts to stand up for the things that we sing about at the top of our voices. Hey? Oh, Canada, the true north strong and free. Hey? Do you pledge your true patriot love to the true north strong and free? Free, not subject to the legal constraint of another? And yet you bow down to a fairy tale queen that lives on the other side of the earth? There's something mentally wrong there with your mental thought processes. You know, why have we been in internecine strife for all these years over this Constitution if it's legitimate? You know, and I'm just belaboring the point, but I've showed you here that everything that we've done under our own steam. We've done it with garbage that other people have thrown away. Not with the proceeds of any social programs that we've paid into. We've got so many flies here because this guy uses this for a range. He's got cow shits, the cow shits all over the place, and there's nothing but flies that follow them around and ruin drinking water. You know, forget about fighting your drinking water. It comes out of the Alpine out here as polluted as you can get. You know, by the time it gets to Vancouver, all you're drinking down there is sludge. You might as well have that fluoride in the water because you're better off to be retarded so that you don't know what kind of cancers are killing you anyway. But at any rate, you can see that we're picking up garbage, and that we've got a place here. You can see our gold and silver. You can see it. You know, you can come out and you can bite into it if you want to. See it for yourself. What's on there? Get it. Take a look at our analysis of it that we got back. You know, like, why do we have it if we're out here for non-mining purposes? You know, this is about people watching everybody else do the work and then going in and picking up all of their efforts. Why should the government just be able to come along and say, you pay this amount of taxes, and if we don't, we take everything you own? That's not us that's making up these rules to attack us, because we wouldn't be stupid enough to do that. Would we? At any rate, you know what, I don't know how to quit fighting. I've been under attack by these people all of my life. Literally all of my life. I was a ward of the courts under the Protection of the Children's Act. I tried to say something about my social worker and got 50 across the bare ass with a razor strap. And 15 years later, he was convicted of 74 counts of child molesting. So why did I bring that stuff to the RCMP in the first place? And do I realize in retrospect that my social worker only got away with that because of RCMP officers like cooperated with the pedophile Judge Ramsey? This is all part of the public record, gentlemen. Go on to hiddenfromhistory.org, a website run by the Reverend Annette. A nice man that stood up for people that have been horribly treated. That stood up, and the Prime Minister apologized after his efforts. The Prime Minister apologized for the deaths of 50,000 Native Canadian children. Apologized? The government murders children, and they apologize? Didn't Clifford Olson apologize? Hey, if that's all you got to do, why put anybody else in jail? You see, that's what we talk about, the two-tier level. That's 50,000 murders that this government has got away with. Gentlemen, if that's not evidence of crime on an international scale, then I really don't know what is. Peace and love, y'all. I sure hope you make it, because I think we're dead in the water. What do you think, my love?
Yes, we probably are. It looks like it.
Oh well, we have us,
Yes.
and that's a wonderful thing.
And we know the truth.
Now, how do I stop this here? I can't even see into the sunshine. I'm hoping that this recorded all right.